Next one is formation of interstitial compounds. And here transition metals can form interstitial compounds. Examples are what? Say TiC, Mn4n, Fe3H, VH 0.56, TiH 1.7. If you see students, I took a piece of transition metal, and as I told you, metal atoms are assumed to have spherical shape. When spherically shaped metal atoms are tightly packed, among them what are created? Among them voids will be created. And here I am taking elements. For example, here this is titanium and here this is hydrogen. This piece of titanium metal I kept in open air, and among titanium metal atoms which are spherically shaped, voids are created. And what about hydrogen? Hydrogen has the smallest size, and you know this hydrogen, because of its smallest size, and will come and will be trapped in the voids. And here between titanium and hydrogen, chemical reaction is not taking place. Just hydrogen, due to its small size, will come and will be trapped in the voids, and the resulting compounds are known as interstitial compounds. Why these are known as interstitial compounds? Because elements with small atomic size will come and trapped in the voids, or you can say interstitial sites. Because of that reason only these are known as interstitial compounds. These interstitial compounds also known as non-stoichiometric compounds. You can say interstitial compounds, or you can say non-stoichiometric compounds. Why they are known as non-stoichiometric compounds? Because in these compounds the transition metal is not exhibiting a particular oxidation state. I repeat, in these interstitial compounds, transition elements are not exhibiting a particular oxidation state. And here if you compare the properties, if you consider the properties of these interstitial compounds, see, interstitial compounds, for example, here in the voids titanium is trapped and the resulting compound formula is TiH 1.7. Look at this students, this is pure titanium metal and this is what? Say interstitial compound of titanium. Compared with pure titanium, its interstitial compound is more hard. Compared with pure metals, their interstitial compounds are what? Say more hard. As I am saying more hard, they will be having more melting point. More hard means they will be having more melting point, but still they are exhibiting metallic conductivity. They are exhibiting what? Say metallic conductivity. And these interstitial compounds are chemically inert. They are what? Say chemically inert, means they are not participating in chemical reactions. I repeat once again, the specialties of interstitial compounds are what? Say compared with pure metal, their interstitial compounds are having more hardness, more melting point, and they retain with metallic conductivity, but chemically they are what? Say inert in nature. And here which type of atoms will be trapped here? Hydrogen, boron, carbon and nitrogen. Because of their small size, they will come and trapped in the voids, forming interstitial compounds. And here this is about interstitial compounds. And these interstitial compounds are neither typically ionic nor typically covalent, means they are not having completely ionic nature, not having completely covalent nature. Next one is alloy formation. And here what do you mean by alloys? Alloys are nothing but a homogeneous mixture. Homogeneous mixture means it must be a true solution. Alloys are nothing but a homogeneous mixture. Homogeneous mixture of metals means metal plus metal, metal plus non-metal, or metal plus metalloid, means a homogeneous mixture of metals or metal with non-metal or metal with metalloid, where the mixture is exhibiting all metallic properties. If the mixture is exhibiting again all metallic properties, such homogeneous mixture is known as alloy. So alloys are homogeneous mixtures of metal with metal, metal with non-metal, metal with metalloid, where the resulting mixture exhibits metallic properties. Such homogeneous mixture known as what say alloys, and here transition elements also can form alloys. But the thing is, see this. This is metal atom 1, this is metal atom 2, this is metal atom 1, this is metal atom 2. If you see first combination and second combination, in first case there is a large difference you can find between the sizes of two metal atoms, and here in the second case the size difference is very less. When size difference is less, then only they can form homogeneous mixture, then only it results in the formation of alloy. When there is a large difference is there in the size, they cannot form homogeneous mixture, cannot form alloy. And if you find two different metals, if they differ in their radius, and the radii difference should be approximately 15% only. The difference in the radii should be less than 15%. If the difference is in the radii is more than 15%, then they cannot form alloy, then they cannot form homogeneous mixture, right? That is about alloy. And here these alloys are of two types. They are of two types. They are ferrous alloys and non-ferrous alloys. It is in the name only. In ferrous alloys, iron is present. In non-ferrous alloys, iron is absent. And if you look at one more point, vanadium, chromium, manganese, chromium, molybdenum, tungsten. See, these elements are used in making stainless steel and steel. So vanadium, chromium, manganese, molybdenum, tungsten, they are used in making steels and stainless steels. At the same time, we have copper zinc couple, at the same time copper tin couple. Copper zinc is nothing but brass and copper tin is nothing but bronze, right? So copper zinc is forming brass and copper tin is forming what say bronze. Next our topic is K2Cr2O7, that is nothing but potassium dichromate, and in potassium dichromate chromium is exhibiting its highest +6 oxidation state, and an element in its highest oxidation state can act as oxidizing agent. Means here K2Cr2O7 can act as oxidizing agent. Reason is in this chromium is exhibiting its highest +6 oxidation state, and where we are using this K2Cr2O7 means K2Cr2O7 mainly we are using in leather industry. At the same time K2Cr2O7 also used as oxidizing agent in the manufacture of azo compounds. In the manufacture of azo compounds. Azo compounds means nitrogen containing compounds. In leather industry K2Cr2O7 is used. At the same time K2Cr2O7 also used as oxidizing agent in the preparation of azo compounds. And here if you see in the preparation of K2Cr2O7, the important compound we are using is chromite ore. Chromite ore has the formula FeCr2O4. When chromite ore is reacted with sodium carbonate in presence of oxygen, we are getting Na2CrO4, whose name is sodium chromate, and this sodium chromate is a yellow colored compound. This sodium chromate in the next step treated with acid, so that we are getting Na2Cr2O7, where it is known as sodium dichromate. Sodium dichromate. In the next step, this sodium dichromate is reacted with potassium chloride. So ultimately we are getting orange colored potassium dichromate, that is K2Cr2O7. Means iron chromate on reaction with or you can say chromite ore on reaction with Na2CO3 in oxygen, yellow colored sodium chromate. Sodium chromate in acidic medium forming sodium dichromate. Sodium dichromate on treatment with KCl, ultimately we are getting K2Cr2O7. This is the preparation method of K2Cr2O7. Now here CrO4 minus 2 is known as chromate ion, and Cr2O7 minus 2 is known as dichromate ion, and these two reactions are important. Here chromate ion is converted to dichromate ion with the help of acid means pH value less than 7. Means if you maintain pH value less than 7, acidic medium, chromate ion converted to dichromate ion. At the same time, dichromate ion converted to chromate ion in basic medium. Basic medium means pH value greater than 7. Means in acidic medium, chromate ion to dichromate ion, and in basic medium, dichromate ion to chromate ion. It depends on the pH value which we are maintaining. At the same time, CrO4 minus 2, Cr2O7 minus 2, if you see, if you look at CrO4 minus 2, chromium, double bond O, O minus, it has tetrahedral shape it has. Whereas dichromate ion, if you see, chromium, oxygen, double bond O, O minus, double bond O, O minus. Here one tetrahedral unit and here one more tetrahedral unit. So what is happening here? In Cr2O7 minus 2, two tetrahedral units are joined through a single oxygen. This is the structure of dichromate ion. Now K2Cr2O7, if we break, we get 2K plus Cr2O7 minus 2. Means in potassium dichromate ion is present, and in dichromate ion, chromium is exhibiting its highest plus 6 oxidation state. Because of its highest oxidation state, dichromate ion can act as oxidizing agent, and in acidic medium, it is converted to chromium plus 3. So plus 6 is becoming plus 3. Reduction reaction. So the one which participates in reduction reaction act as oxidizing agent, and here few important reactions are there. What they are? Dichromate ion acts as oxidizing agent because in this chromium is exhibiting highest plus 6 oxidation state, and it can oxidize iodide ion into iodine, stannous ion into stannic ion, sulfide ion into sulfur, ferrous ion is oxidized to ferric ion. For all these oxidation reactions, we are using oxidizing agent, that is Cr2O7 minus 2. So Cr2O7 minus 2 can act as oxidizing agent. If they ask a question like this, for 1 mole of Sn plus 2 ion, to oxidize this into Sn plus 4, how many moles of K2Cr2O7 is needed? I repeat the question. To oxidize 1 mole of Sn plus 2 into Sn plus 4, how many moles of K2Cr2O7 is needed in acidic medium? See students, we know that in acidic medium, Cr2O7 minus 2 is converted to 2Cr plus 3. Here chromium is exhibiting plus 6 oxidation state, I told. Plus 6 is exhibited by one chromium, but here two such chromiums are there. So into 2 if you do, plus 12 you get, and here chromium is exhibiting plus 3, such two chromiums are there. So 2 into plus 3, I mean plus 3 into 2 plus 6. 12 is becoming 6. Change in the oxidation number is what, say 6. This is which reaction? Reduction reaction. And what is the oxidation reaction? This is our oxidation. Means Sn plus 2 is becoming Sn plus 4. Plus 2 is becoming plus 4. Change in the oxidation state is 2. This is which reaction, say oxidation reaction. 6 is the change in oxidation number in reduction reaction. 2 is the change in oxidation number in oxidation reaction. These changes we have to make equal into 1 into 3. Why? Because 6 1s are 6, 3 2s are 6. Means this entire reaction you should multiply with 1, and this entire reaction you should multiply with 3. Means what is happening? Say Cr2O7 minus 2 gives rise to 2Cr plus 3, and here 3 Sn plus 2 becoming 3 Sn plus 4. If you look at this reaction, students, 3 moles of Sn plus 2 require 1 mole of dichromate ion. I repeat, 3 moles of Sn plus 2 require 1 mole of dichromate ion. Then 1 mole of Sn plus 2 require how many moles of dichromate ions? Now X is equal to 1 into 1, 1 by 3 moles of dichromate ion we need. This is the answer. Next one is KMnO4. The name of KMnO4 is potassium permanganate, and in potassium permanganate, manganese is exhibiting its highest +7 oxidation state. Just now we learned if an element is exhibiting in its highest oxidation state, then that compound, that species can act as oxidizing agent. In the early case, K2Cr2O7 oxidizing agent. At the same time here KMnO4, it is also behaving as strong oxidizing agent, because in this manganese is exhibiting its highest oxidation state +7. And here if you look into the preparation of KMnO4, for the preparation of KMnO4 we are using MnO2, and the name of MnO2 is pyrolusite. Pyrolusite is the name of MnO2. That compound we are using for the preparation of KMnO4. If you see students, that pyrolusite on reaction with KOH and oxygen, MnO2 converted to K2MnO4. K2MnO4 is known as potassium manganate. Potassium manganate, it contains manganate ion, that is MnO4 minus 2. In the next step, that manganate ion on reaction with sulfuric acid, you are getting permanganate ion. You can say permanganate ion which is equal to KMnO4, because KMnO4 on breaking, it is producing K plus and MnO4 minus. You got permanganate ion means indirectly you can say you got KMnO4. So pyrolusite on reaction with base in presence of oxygen, potassium manganate, and it contains manganate ion. That manganate ion on acidification with sulfuric acid, we are getting permanganate ion. We got permanganate ion means nothing but we got potassium permanganate. At the same time, commercial method. If you want to prepare KMnO4 in large quantities, what we have to do? Again start with pyrolusite, and this pyrolusite is fused with KOH, and that is subjected to oxidation reaction with the help of aerial oxygen or with the help of potassium nitrate, and here pyrolusite is converted to MnO4 minus 2, that is manganate ion. In the next step, this manganate ion is subjected to electrolytic oxidation in basic medium, so that it is finally converted to permanganate ion. Again I say permanganate ion is nothing but KMnO4. So MnO2 fused with KOH, subjected to oxidation reaction, manganate ion on electrolytic oxidation, permanganate ion. And at the same time, in the laboratory, if you want to prepare potassium permanganate, Mn plus 2 is treated with persulfate ion in aqueous medium. You are getting permanganate ion, means again you can say KMnO4, you got it, right? This is preparation of KMnO4. If you look into the properties of KMnO4, KMnO4 is exhibiting dark purple color, and at the same time KMnO4 if you drop in water, it is less soluble in water, and its solubility is 6.4 grams of KMnO4 is soluble in 100 grams of water at 298 Kelvin. That is the solubility of KMnO4. At the same time, KMnO4 if you heat to high temperature, what happens? KMnO4 upon heating participates in thermal decomposition, produces K2MnO4 with the liberation of oxygen. This is one of the method for the preparation of oxygen from KMnO4. So KMnO4 upon heating turned into K2MnO4, potassium permanganate converted to potassium manganate, and this reaction is important. Why also? Let us see. Here in KMnO4, manganese is exhibiting +7, whereas in K2MnO4 it is exhibiting +6, and manganese +7 means 4s0 3d0, there is no unpaired electron. As a result, this is diamatic in nature, whereas in form of +6 oxidation state, 4s0 3d1, as one unpaired electron is present, it is paramatic in nature. You can see students here, KMnO4 upon heating turned into K2MnO4 means a diamatic compound is turned into paramatic compound. This is known as temperature dependent paramagnetism. Temperature dependent paramagnetism. And at the same time, MnO4 minus 2, that is manganate ion is exhibiting green color, MnO4 minus, that is permanganate ion, is exhibiting purple color. If you look into the structure, Mn double bond O minus, double bond O minus, MnO4 minus 2, it has tetrahedral shape and exhibiting green color. If you look at MnO4 minus, Mn double bond O, double bond O, double bond O minus, this is also tetrahedral in shape. See, shape is same but color exhibition is different. Manganate ion is exhibiting green color, whereas permanganate ion is exhibiting purple color. Now here, I told you already, KMnO4, you can say potassium permanganate, or you can say permanganate ion, both are same. In permanganate ion, manganese is exhibiting its highest oxidation state. Because of exhibiting highest oxidation state, permanganate ion, or you can say potassium permanganate, acts as strong oxidizing agent. And potassium permanganate can act as strong oxidizing agent in acidic medium or neutral medium or in basic medium, means it acts as oxidizing agent in all the mediums. Reason is what? Say, see, in acidic medium, +7 is becoming +2, change is 5. In neutral medium, +7 is becoming +4, change in the oxidation state is 3. Whereas in strongly alkaline medium or basic medium, +7 is becoming +6, change in the oxidation state is 1, students. Means how much there should be change in the oxidation state, it depends on pH value. Means in all the mediums, acidic, neutral and basic medium, KMnO4 behaving as oxidizing agent only, because in all the reactions it is participating in reduction reaction, so acts as oxidizing agent. And how much should be the change in oxidation state, it depends on pH value. And you know one thing, KMnO4 can act as a strong oxidizing agent, and you know this can oxidize even water. So water can be oxidized by KMnO4 but not under normal condition. It requires Mn+2 as a catalyst, at the same time high temperature. I repeat, students, KMnO4 can oxidize water under special conditions when presence of Mn+2 catalyst, at the same time high temperature is available, then water can be oxidized by KMnO4. Just now we discussed that KMnO4 can act as oxidizing agent, and it can act as oxidizing agent in acidic medium, neutral medium and in alkaline medium also. If you look at acidic medium, iodide ion is oxidized to iodine, ferrous ion is oxidized to ferric ion, oxalate ion is oxidized to carbon dioxide, sulfide ion is oxidized to sulfur, sulfite ion is oxidized to sulfate ion, nitrite ion is oxidized to nitrate ion. And for all these oxidation reactions, I am using KMnO4 as oxidizing agent. And how they ask in the exam, question based on this. See, students, for example, let us select 2 examples. Oxalate ion is oxidized to carbon dioxide with the help of KMnO4. To oxidize 1 mole of oxalate ion into carbon dioxide, how many moles of KMnO4 we need? Let us discuss the question. To oxidize 1 mole of C2O4 minus 2, how many moles of KMnO4 is needed in acidic medium? This is the question. Let us see, students. We know that in acidic medium what is happening. First of all, KMnO4 can split into K plus MnO4 minus, and this MnO4 minus in acidic medium changes to Mn+2. In MnO4 minus, manganese is exhibiting +7, here it is +2, +7 is changing +2, change in the oxidation state is +5. And here we are oxidizing oxalate ion, C2O4 minus 2, and C2O4 minus 2 is oxidized to carbon dioxide. First of all, we have to balance the number of carbons. Reactant side 2 carbons are there, so make it 2. In oxalate ion, each carbon is exhibiting +3 into 2, that is +6. Here +4 into 2, that is +8. Change in the oxidation state is what, say, students? 2. here change is 5, here change is 2. How can we do? Into 2 into 5. Means this whole reaction multiplied with 2 and this whole reaction multiplied with what, say 5. Means what we get? 2 MnO4 minus 2 MnO4 minus react with what, say 5 C2O4 minus 2 produce 2 Mn plus 2 and 5 2s are 10 CO2. So overall reaction is 2 MnO4 minus gives plus 5 C2O4 minus 2 gives rise to 2 Mn plus 2 and 10 CO2. See students, for 5 moles of oxalate ion we need 2 moles of MnO4 minus. So 2 moles of MnO4 minus needed by 5 moles of C2O4 minus 2. Per mole of C2O4 minus 2, they are asking that only. Per mole, how many moles of KMnO4 needed? So 2 into 1, 2 by 5 means 0.4 moles of KMnO4 is needed. 0.4 moles of KMnO4 is needed. Like that we can solve this. Next, one more question if you see. To oxidize 1 mole of sulfide ion, how many moles of KMnO4 needed in acidic medium? Same again, KMnO4 if you break, K plus MnO4 minus, MnO4 minus in acidic medium changes to Mn plus 2, here plus 7, here plus 2, change in the oxidation state is 5, and we know that sulfide ion is oxidized to sulfur, S minus 2 is oxidized to S, minus 2 is becoming 0, change in the oxidation state is 2. Again we have to make them equal, into 2 into 5. Why? Because 2 5s are 10, 5 2s are 10. Means this reaction multiplied with 2 and this entire reaction multiplied with 5. Means 2 MnO4 minus reacts with 5 moles of S minus 2 gives rise to 2 Mn plus 2 plus 5 moles of sulfur. Means for 5 moles of sulfide ion we need 2 moles of MnO4 minus. For 5 moles of S minus 2 we need 2 moles of MnO4 minus. Per mole of S minus 2 we need how much? So again 2 by 5 means 0.4 moles of KMnO4 we need.